Hello and welcome to today's press conference. A couple quick reminders. Those of you in the room, please raise your hand. We'll get you a microphone so you can ask your one question with follow-up. Those of you watching on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. We will get to you as time allows. And with that, Coach Freeman, go ahead with your opening statement.
Yeah, just to recap last game, it was great to really play a complete game on all three phases, and for your offense to score 44 points and defense to give up 0 points, and special teams, we didn't block a punt. I gave Coach Mace a hard time, but we did win the battle of field position, and that's our number one goal: win the battle of field position by 16 yards. And it's been week after week that we've continued to win the battle of field position, and that's a reflection of our special teams. I thought we did a great job of handling the weather. We gave Bass, our head equipment manager, a special shout out for the job him and his staff did, just of the heated benches, the balls, the preparation that went into making sure that the weather wasn't a distraction for our guys. 0 turnovers on offense in that type of weather conditions is huge, and to get 4 takeaways on defense obviously had a big impact on the game. Players of the game, I just saw Zeke Correll out there coming in here, and I said, I forgot to write down the stats you had from the game, and he said offensive linemen don't have stats, but he was the offensive player of the game. The way he handled, no balls on the ground, the nose guard he was going against had some ridiculous stats the week before versus NC State, maybe 7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and he had 1 tackle versus our offensive line. And so Zeke did a great job of really playing at a high level in those weather conditions. On defense, it was Ben Morrison. Obviously, the 3 interceptions were huge. He continues to play at a high level. And special teams was Blake Groupie to go 3 for 3, and then 5 for 5, 3 for 3 on field goals, and 5 for 5 for PATs. It was good to see Blake respond. In 2 weeks in a row before this game, he had missed a field goal, and we challenged him a little bit. And to see him respond and go 3 for 3, I think 2 of them were for 40-plus yards. It was really good to see. And so I know you guys don't want to spend too much time on Saturday, so let's turn the page to this next one. It's obviously a great rivalry, a great football program, great history, tradition, and it'll be a great challenge for our team. As I told them, it's the focus on preparation. Stay in the present, focus on preparation. Saturday will get here before we know it, but we have to continue to prepare. And that's what's the answers to the test. I don't know any other way. I don't. It isn't come up with trick plays. It isn't try to confuse them. It's prepare and continue to get better at the things we do really, really well, and continue to try to fix the things that we need to improve at. And so we're looking forward to the great challenge and great opportunity ahead of us. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Second row on your right, Tom Noy.
Marcus, I know it's only been 1 year, but when and how did you kind of realize that this is a different kind of rivalry game for Notre Dame against USC?
I think it started last year. It's unique because last year when you play USC during the middle of the season, it's a little bit different than going out there and playing the last game of the year. I spent some time this morning actually talking to Coach Reese, and he's been out there twice, once as a player or twice as a player, I can't remember, and then once as a coach. I know he was out there in 2018, and I played out there in 2008 when I was at Ohio State, but to be a part of this rivalry for the last game of the year, and there's a lot on the line for both teams, and this is a huge rivalry for us that goes back many years, I know, to the 1920s, I think. And so there's a different feeling about this one, and I can feel it amongst our program and our players. I knew it last year, but this year, being at the end of the year at USC, you can really feel it.
After watching the game in your office the other night, did you sneak a peek at the UCLA game at all?
I would be lying if I said I didn't. I did my normal routine and watched the BC game, and went and had a quick bite with my wife and the kids, and it was on when we got home. And I watched maybe a couple series, and I felt like I was working, so I turned it off and tried to go to bed and got at it yesterday.
Third row on your left, Tim Priester.
Coach Caleb Williams, Chip Kelly said he's the best college quarterback that he's faced. What separates him from the other quarterbacks? And then Lincoln Riley as well, who's been extremely successful as a play caller and head of an offense?
Yeah, starting with Caleb, man, is he a talented quarterback? And we faced some really good quarterbacks this season, and he is one of the best I've seen. And, you know, his arm strength is one thing. His decision-making is another. His ability to extend plays. And he's one of the few guys I've seen just continuously break tackles, you know, and that's something yeah, he can make people miss, but he breaks tackles. Guys have their hands on him, and he continues to stay up, and that can be devastating to a defense. And that can make you try to do something outside of what your responsibility is on defense. I want to make a play. I'm going to try to rush around this guy instead of staying in my lane. You have to stay in your rush lanes, but you can't play cautious. And that's always the challenge. I remember having a conversation with our D-line and Coach Washington early in the North Carolina game after that first series when May just was kind of scrambling around. I said, we're not playing spy. I don't want to just play patty cake and spy the guy. I want to rush, but we have to be in our lanes. And so that will be the challenge with Caleb Williams is one is the coverage. You know, we got to cover those wideouts and continue to mix up the coverage as we play against him. But two is to continue to do your job. Stay in your rush lanes. If you have an opportunity to bring them down and bring your feet and don't dive. But don't play spy. And it's I like to use the term controlled aggression. You know, we have to be aggressive, but it has to be under control. As far as Lincoln Riley, this is the first time I've ever faced him. Really, first time I've ever faced a team coached by him or with him being the offensive coordinator. And so they do a really good job of mixing up tempos. You know, and at times going mock speed as fast as they can, at times slowing it down and you know, using some of the play clock. And, you know, they're able to run the ball, throw the ball, and put different guys in motion and put them in different spots. You'll see Addison at wide out going in motion, and he's in the backfield. I think that was against UCLA. I was just watching when it was third down maybe, or they went tempo, and they snuck him into the backfield and ran him right up the seam and scored a touchdown. So extremely talented coordinator, has done a really good job.
I think it's 3 of the last 4 games that Deion Colzie has come up significant on third down plays specifically. What has brought him along to this point? I know he had the injury early on, and then the impact of Chancey Stuckey on his game.
Yeah, it's again, I think, as you said, Tim, is the ability to get healthy. Right, he's finally healthy. I think midway through the season he was probably truly at 100%. But the ability to grow and continue to improve, and maybe not get the rewards of receptions and yards that you want, but to work at it tirelessly, and that's a reflection of coaching. That's a reflection of Coach Stuckey in that room. And you've heard me, everybody in this room has heard me say this again. That's one of the most unselfish positions there are. You can do everything right and never get rewarded with the ball. And but Deion has just worked tirelessly, improved as an individual, improved at his route running, improved at his ball catching, and you know, now presented with the opportunity, he's making big plays.
Row on your right, Chuck Freeman.
Marcus, you mentioned Caleb, but they also have a vast array of receivers. They run the ball very well this year, much better than they did last year. As you look at that big picture, what concerns you the most?
Everything. I mean, I wish I could point. It all starts with the quarterback. It all starts with every offense, I believe, starts with a quarterback. It starts with the quarterback and the decision-making and his ability to extend plays and put the ball where it needs to go. But even with Dye being out, the running back Dye being out, who was extremely talented as you watch back through their season, they got a stable of running backs. The one guy that was from Stanford, Jones, he was at Stanford. We faced him last year, and you know, they got a freshman running back, Brown, that's fast, and they use him at returner and do some different things with him, and he's talented. Their offensive line is a veteran group. It's probably one of the most veteran, experienced groups we'll face, and their wideouts, you can just go down the list from Addison to Rice to Mario Williams, who transferred from Oklahoma, Washington from Memphis. I mean, you can just go down the line of talented wide receivers that find a way to get their hands on the ball. So every position on their offense will present a big challenge for us.
From the final road game of last year to the final road game of this year, your world has turned around a little bit. What is the most valuable lesson that you've learned in that 12-month period?
You know, you don't, I think I've said this before, you don't become a new person because of your title and your role. You know, you continue to attack challenges, being the person you are, and that's what I've learned. You know, if you would ask me last year at this time, and hey, you're going to be the head coach next year, getting ready to face USC, I don't think I'm a different person. It's a different challenge. You got a different responsibility, but continue to be who you are, work tirelessly, lead with your heart, and you know what? It's never going to be perfect. But if you work at it and you continue to find different ways to improve, man, success is on the horizon.
Front row on your left, Patrick Angle.
Marcus, before the Ohio State game, you talked all week about the importance of running the ball as far as playing keep away, winning ball control. I know that you wanted to be your identity then, but also just based on what it took to beat that offense. How much of a similar emphasis is it now, but mainly just because it's your strength and that you've been good at it since then?
Yeah, I think back, man, the growth in our offense, the growth in me as a head coach from the first game of the year has been tremendous. And not trying to say that's a compliment, but it's I've grown a lot from that moment. Our offense, a compliment for our offense, you know, not for me, but for our offense. And you know, I think back to that game, and all I wanted to do is run the ball and huddle, run the ball and huddle, run the ball and huddle. And we had some success doing it. We didn't run the ball that game early in the year as well as we're doing now. I think running the ball is a vital piece of our offense to have success, you know, but in continuing to control the game clock with different types of tempo is something that we've grown at and have done a much better job at. It's not huddle every play and wait till 5 seconds are on the play clock and snap it. It's the ability to control the tempo of the game using different variables. And, you know, that's what we'll continue to try to do. We have to run the ball. We got to, you know, create easy throws early in the game to gain confidence in Drew and take advantage of what they're giving us. But we're still going to have to be multiple. We can't just say we're going to run the ball and huddle. We got to do some other things, which we've shown to be able to do the last couple of weeks. And it'll be a great opportunity for our offense to, you know, truly have a big impact on this game.
And then just some injury housekeeping. Hart, Foskey looked like they got a little banged up, and maybe I think Mitch Evans too. I'm just wondering if anything there on those guys. Yeah.
Hart will probably be questionable for this one. You know, he had a shoulder injury that he had previously, but, you know, he had a shoulder injury. Foskey, he's probable, and Mitch Evans, I would say, is probable with an ankle sprain.
Front row, far right, Eric Hansen.
I got some more injury questions for you. How about Brandon Joseph, Jason Adamalola, and Tobias Merriweather?
Probable, questionable. So probable for Jason, probable for Brandon Joseph, still questionable for Tobias, you know, still trying to see his recovery of the concussion.
Okay, and then I got asked this question twice walking from my car to here, so I'll ask you. I was asked why Steve Angeli didn't get in the game. Was that to protect a red shirt possibility?
Yeah, we made a decision a couple weeks ago when he played in his second game that if we can redshirt Steve Angeli, we will. And, you know, the opportunity to not play him last game gives us 2 games to play him. So he can play in the USC game and the bowl game. So it was very intentional to not play him this past game.
Front row on your left, Tyler Horka.
Marcus, the other night in response to the question about Isaiah Foskey, you mentioned that he came back to win a national title. That obviously isn't going to happen this year. I think it's kind of the first time you've openly said that, and that's been the case since September probably. So I'm just curious, for a program that has always been in that conversation going into the last week of the regular season, how did you from then to now kind of keep it on track and put this team in a position to where it is a top 15 team in the country, it's going against a top 5 team, and there's a lot of eyes on this program still, even though that that feeling of maybe we can win a national title was eradicated so early on?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tyler. You know, winning a national championship is something that every major program has to start the season, you know, and it's a big goal, but that can't be your only goal because there's only going to be one team that wins a national championship. And you know, although we aren't, you know, quiet about saying that's obviously our goal every single season, win national championship, there's also goals that we have in terms of, you know, individual goals, constant improvement. And that's what, you know, my challenges to this group. I every time I say, hey, our goal is to win national championship, the next point I make is our goal is to win every game we play. And this game has nothing to do with the last game or the Ohio State game or the games we lost before that. And so that's why I say that, because if you lose out on the opportunity to win a national championship, okay, what other goals do you have? We got to go to win every game we play. And that's something that, you know, for anybody that's been in a competitive sport or any type of competition, the feeling you get from victory, right, is something that's so special. And you know what? I heard somebody say, well, what are you guys playing for? An opportunity to win. And that's all we need to know, is that if you have competitive spirit and you're an ultimate competitor, that's all you need to know, is there's an opportunity to go win, and there's an opportunity to be called a winner, and that's all we need to know.
And then piggybacking off of Patrick's question, how much better do you feel? I know the offense has had its ups and downs, but how much better do you feel now about going against a top 10 offense than you did maybe going into the season, knowing what Ohio State had? And you talked all week about game planning, controlling the ball, running the ball. Does it feel like now maybe you can do a little bit more to go possession by possession?
Yeah, I think, you know, although I think we all had a mindset of trying to keep as much similarities as we could from my scheme last year to, you know, what Coach Gordon has brought to our defense. That wasn't going to give Al Golden the opportunity to have success. You know, Al Golden had to lead in schematically run the defense the way he feels most comfortable. And that's something I learned, too, just in our short time being together. I said, okay, you're the defensive coordinator. Put your own stable on this. And I think when you do that, though, it takes time to really understand every intricate detail of a scheme. And that's what I think you've seen with our defense from where we started. It was new schematics to our defense and new things really to what we do defensively. And from the start of the season till now, you've seen our players grow and our players learn. And what happens when our players learn and they're not thinking about what's the call here, how do we get our line up? They play a lot faster. They get lined up, they get the call, and they play fast. And that's what I think you're seeing now is a defense that knows what we're doing, knows every intricate detail of the defense, and now is playing at a high level so they can let their athletic ability and the fundamentals take over. When you're thinking about how to get a line and what check and all these different calls to make, it's hard to play fast, and that's where you've seen the growth.
Fourth row on your right, Andrew Mentuck.
You've touched on the Ohio State game, but you've also played two other top passing offenses in UNC and BYU. What are the ways in which that might prepare you for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah. You know, every offense presents a new challenge, you know, and I'm sure people could say that Lincoln Riley comes from the air raid, Hal Mummy, Mike Leach tree, but it's different than what you saw at North Carolina, which is still a version of the air raid offense. And USC last year, Graham Harrell was from the air raid tree, but all these coordinators and Lincoln Riley's the head coach, but all of them really put their own twist and wrinkle to it. And so the ability for our defense to be able to see different types of passing schemes and different types of offenses is huge. And the ability to say, okay, hey, there's some similarities, and this is different. You know, we can use different tools. I don't think you create in Week 12 a new defense to try to stop an offense, but you use different tools which you have within your package that you bring out for this game. And that's what we got to be able to do. And playing different offenses like you mentioned earlier in the year, you can go and really look and say, okay, hey, here we've done this. We haven't used it in the past couple weeks, but we've done this, and be able to get it ready for this weekend.
Ben Morrison, after giving up a couple big plays against Syracuse, has really stepped up over the last few weeks. What traits, both physically and mentally, have allowed him to kind of go to that next level?
We got a saying around here called "one play, one life," and that's as a corner, you have to have that mentality. Within a game, one play, one life. And you give up a big play or you make a big play, you got to move on to the next one. And some guys can't do that, especially at an early age. Whereas Ben Morrison showed the ability to do that. And last game he had 2 interceptions, then they get a bomb on him, and his ability to respond and say, okay, next play, and get an interception on the overthrown ball late in the game. Again, it just shows, his ability to refocus, resiliency, the ability to just move on after something bad happens and get ready to do his job on the next play. And so I think that's what you see as a reflection of how Ben Morrison's playing.
Second row on your left, Tyler James.
Marcus, we've talked a lot about USC's skill players, but your program, you've said you want to be offensive line and defensive line driven. Seems like maybe this is contrasting styles in these two teams going against each other. Is this another opportunity to maybe prove that what you want this program to be can be good, can be enough to beat some of the best teams in the country?
Yeah, this is what it's going to be for us to have success, and what I believe in. And it's not in comparison to anybody else. But O-line, D-line driven doesn't just mean run the ball. It doesn't mean just stop the run. But even though I think that's a huge part of why we have success, the ability to stop the run and run the ball. But I think it's a mindset that your best leaders are your biggest guys. I think there's power in that. And your biggest, physically biggest players are your best leaders. I think that's powerful, and that's why a lot of that saying O-line, D-line driven is because I want those guys to be our best leaders too, and know that our success, really relies on the success they have up front on both sides of the ball. And so there's a lot that goes into that saying O-line, D-line driven, and I use it in different ways. But for us to have success, our O-line and D-liner have to play really, really well on Saturday.
How do you think Drew Pyne has responded, knowing going into a game that he could be going up against an offense that could put up a lot of points as well?
He's ready to go. He's excited. He's a competitor. He is one of the most competitive kids we have, and so he wants the ball in his hands, and he wants a chance to execute. And again, we all have to make decisions that help him execute, and he has to help himself execute. But I know he's excited for this challenge.
Front row on your right, Pete Sampson.
This is sort of building on Tyler's question about O-line, D-line driven, but when you're recruiting receivers, what's the message to them? Signing day is a month away. You have a good class together right now. Because I would think that when you're throwing the ball to your tight end or you're running the ball 45 times again, that might not lend itself to a great recruiting pitch to the receiver. So how have you been able to have success at that position?
Well, if you want a chance to get the ball at receiver, you better have protection. And that's the number one thing I'm going to say. And any great throwing offense, that quarterback has time to throw the ball. And so that's the number one pitch we're going to sell. And they're going to understand that their best friends better be those offensive linemen. And again, that doesn't just, as I just said, that doesn't mean we're just going to run the ball and stop the run. That means that we put a big emphasis on having great O-line and a great D-line, and our success will be made upon that. But, as we tell these wideouts, we tell DBs, we tell all the skill athletes that are unique individuals that, listen, if you're good enough to come in here and help us, then you're going to play. Look at Ben Morrison. Look at Jaden Mickey. Look at Tobias Merriweather. And Jaden Thomas and Deion Colzie are both second-year guys. Lorenzo Styles is a second-year guy. And so we want to have success, no matter what that means on both sides of the ball. And that's going to come by putting the ball into your playmaker's hands. And if that means throwing the ball a whole bunch of times, it means throwing the ball. But it's ultimately, what is it going to take to have success?
This is way off topic, but Father Nate, I was interested in his influence around the team. Why do you like sort of having him around, and then just sort of like the impact that maybe he's had on you?
Yeah, he's been amazing. Father Nate obviously was the team chaplain before I got here, and he conducted Mass last year, and I got a chance to meet him and gain a relationship with him, and that carried on to this year. And to have that outlet for our players, I think, is important. Obviously, he runs our Mass, but the ability to be a spiritual advisor, somebody that our players can go spend time with if they want to, right? They're not forced to here, but if they need that or they want that that outlet, they have it there. And, it's a lot easier to go to somebody that you see and and you trust than just to go to some random person that is a father and a priest. And so it's good he's been great for me personally, but also our program.
Third row on your left, Pete Byrne.
Hi, Marcus. Going back to the middle of the season when you guys were 3-3 before you've run off 5 straight games, I would imagine that some of your guys mentally were frustrated, maybe a little fragile. I was wondering if you could quantify the amount that your team's confidence has grown and how much different are you now as a result of that?
You have to continue during those tough times of leading and trying to convince them to have faith in you as leader and what we're doing, and telling them you continue to do the things we're asking you to do, and continue. And that's not just doing the same things over and over. It's continue to work at the things we feel is going to help us have success. If you continue to do that, the results will come. And you know what? They started to come, and then Stanford comes. And again, that week you got to build them back up. Trust us. Let's get better. Let's work at the things that we're not doing so well. And then you start to have some results. And listen, at some point, don't know when it will be, we're going to have that conversation again, right? And after a loss, you still have that conversation after wins, though, too. The same conversation I had probably after loss I had this Sunday in terms of trust what we're doing, trust the way we're preparing, because that's given us a chance to have success, but enhance it. Make it better. That's one of our sayings, challenge everything. Enhance what we're doing. Find a better way to prepare. And so it's probably very similar to the message I had after the Stanford game, is that, you know what, trust us. Trust what we're going to do in terms of our preparation and how we're going to get you ready. But you know what, challenge everything. Find a better way to do it. We're going to find a better way to do it as coaches, and you as an individual have to find a better way to do it. And the fortunate part about being in the season is, although those weeks can seem long, it's six days, between, that meeting and the next opportunity.
We haven't talked to you at all about Thanksgiving. A, I'm curious what you'll do with the team this week to commemorate that, and also B, from strictly a football perspective, what are you thankful for this year?
What I think, say that one more time.
What are you thankful for this year from a football perspective?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. What we'll do as a team is Thursday, before we head out to California, we'll have a Thanksgiving meal as a team, families, and we'll have it here, then get on a plane and fly out there. And so, we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving together as a football program, and we're looking forward to doing that with our families and with our families, our personal families and our football families. We're all part of a family. We don't have enough time to go over the many things I'm thankful for, but, I love these kids. I love these players, and that's what makes being a head coach at Notre Dame special. Is it, man, these young people, they're a lot of fun to coach. They're eager to be coached, eager to be led, and every day presents a new challenge, but I'm so thankful to be their head coach, and, it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad we're able to get some of those rewards that they work so hard for. These wins, they work tirelessly to have that feeling on Saturday after a game, and so it's a lot of fun, and I'm thankful to be able to coach. And this coaching staff has been tremendous. The growth we've done in a year, not even a year as a coaching staff, we're a position group. We really divide our football program into different position groups, but our coaching staff is a position groups, and we meet every day. And those aren't always kumbaya fun meetings, but it's a real meeting. It's real authentic relationships, and that's what I want. That's what I want, and that's what I want our players to want. I want our coaches to want is real authentic relationships. And everybody in this room that's been in a real authentic relationships knows it's not always peaches and cream. And I know that's a saying, but it's not always bubbly, and it's not always, difficult moments. It's ups and downs, but it's authenticity. And I'm thankful for this coaching staff. I'm thankful for these players, and obviously the administration and the university that I'm at.
Second row on your right, Mike Bernardino.
And you guys.
Of course. This will be a homecoming for Jaden Mickey of sorts, and maybe a big opportunity if depending on Cam Hart's week. What has this year been like for Jaden, overcoming the injury time, some setbacks on the field, and how much has it helped him, do you think? How much has Ben Morrison specifically shown him the way, or even had conversations with him that should boost his confidence for Saturday?
Yeah, I saw those two walking off the practice field yesterday, just those two, and I just started laughing. I was with Coach Mickey, and I just started laughing. I said, you know what? That's what you want. Two young guys that are really close, that are going to push each other, but support each other. And Jaden Mickey's he's an ultimate talented individual. He is a really good football player that probably early in his career here, and I'm talking he's only been here for not even a year maybe, but early, and I'm talking spring ball, had a lot of success. And then all of a sudden we get into fall camp, and he's had success, but then it was kind of a little bit of growing pains. But you know what? It's making him better. And we put him at a different position. We put him at nickel and corner and all these different things. And this is going to help him. This is one of those years for him that as a freshman, he's learning that it isn't always peachy. It isn't always great. But you grow from it. You grow from it. And he's grown tremendously in this first season. And he'll get an opportunity to play 20, 30 plays versus Boston College. He'll play just as much versus USC. And so I know he's looking forward to it, to going back to California. But he's just a competitor. Anytime you put the ball down and say play, he's going to be ready to roll.
And then this kind of feeds into it, but that development aspect for anybody who, from day one all the way to the end, this week was kind of a referendum on ready-made contenders with the transfer portal possibilities, and that those lessons along the way. Philosophically, big picture, how do you view the portal's impact on the game, the product, the mission of college football, whatever that may be, and what concerns do you have? What maybe limitations should be placed on the numbers that can pile up on one roster?
Yeah, I don't have the answer for exactly the numbers. And my personal opinion on the portal is if used right, it can be really good for college athletics in terms of we've had guys come here and put in their time, get their degree, and say, I want to go somewhere else and play more. You know what, that's great. Go and get another opportunity. Maybe things didn't go so well here, and you say, you know what, I need to go somewhere else. Maybe because academically, I need to go get another opportunity somewhere else. If this isn't the right fit for you, great. You get another opportunity to go somewhere and play the game you love. But, the only thing that I don't want it to encourage is when things get hard, we go run to the portal. And that's the only discouraging thing about it is you've seen, not a trend, but I've seen instances where when things get difficult, that portal's there for you to go run to and go try to find an easier way. And you know what, that's I hope I'm sure that's not why it's there. And I don't want to see young people make a mistake by instead of embracing a challenge, embracing the discomfort that it takes to grow, to maximize who you are as an individual, by running to the portal and going to find an easier way. And so that's always my message to our guys is that, listen, stay and continue to fight, continue to work, because if you do the right things and you work tirelessly, at some point, you're going to get what you want. And then all of a sudden, when you get what you think you want, there's going to be another challenge ahead of you. And those challenges never stop. You get better as an individual, but you come upon a new challenge. And that's what I want for these individuals, I want them more than anything to get a degree from Notre Dame because that will last forever. But I want them to learn life lessons here and get through some difficult times, because if you can learn to fight and really persevere through those difficult times, this will help you throughout the rest of your life.
Final question this afternoon. Sean Steyer, second row on your left.
Hey, Marcus. You I think it was Thursday, you talked a little bit about Tyler Buchner being out there doing some stuff, and that, of course, sparked some other questions afterwards. Is there, with 4 to 5 weeks between now and a bowl game, is there a scenario where he could play in a bowl?
That's still to be determined. Right now, our docs are not 100% sure that will be based on how he progresses over these next couple of weeks. He's practicing more. Obviously, there's no contact with him. And so we'll see if it's what's best for him and he can be full go and be able to be healthy and protect himself and prepare for a bowl game, then shoot, there was no hesitation to give him that opportunity. But that's still to be determined.
And then my other question is, with the playoff getting ready to expand here within the next few years, there's talk about, home site first-round games, teams hosting games and all that kind of stuff. And like Gene Smith at Ohio State has kind of gone back and forth on whether he'd want to. Having just gone through it, what would you think about that possibility?
I would love it. I would love to bring a team into South Bend, Indiana, for a playoff game, and would be very hopeful that the weather was like last Saturday. That's an advantage for us, I feel. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.